563, good God. Catch us on air, online, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. If you missed a large show, that's okay. But you know why? No. Because you can go into the archives. That's right. You can go into the archives. And today, her guest was Zoe B.E. Greystone, Miss B.E. Topics were spirits, ETs, and consciousness. I missed it, so I will, in fact, make a beeline to the archives because I'm on holidays now. I'm soon enough anyway. I'm on a break, so I can do a whole bunch of stuff. Things I have been putting off. But yeah, look. So you missed it. That's okay. Go into the archives. It's free. But while you're there, spare a thought to the fact that this is Listener Funded Radio, meaning
yes,
you, Uncle Sam wants you to donate if you can, or alternatively, tell your friends and family. And maybe some of those can donate. I mean, the more people know about this and listen to this station, not just us, but the station, the more likely it is to get a donation. It's a numbers game, just like, sales. Every no brings you closer to a yes. Yes, Gil. That's right. Gil needs this one. So please do donate if you can. Any currency is fine. It does keep the lights on and the electricity flowing. That's right. That's what happens. Electrons flowing through the copper wires. Now, before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. We like to call this Welcoming to Country. And for Dave,
it's the Darkinjung people.
Thank you very much. And for myself, it is the Dark people here in beautiful Dark Country. And we like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. More so now than ever before. It has become very clear over the intervening few years here that we have done a terrible job custodying the land.
Oh.
We have not been doing well. Our forebears, the Aboriginal, the First Nations. In fact, look, pretty much anywhere in the world, the First Nations people, before the European arrival I'm talking about now, they've been doing a better job of looking after the land. I think that's painfully obvious.
Yes.
And I think I've said it, but we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. It is definitely a time to acknowledge the wisdom of the elder races that were here before we were, Dave.
100%.
It has been, once again, been a week of interesting developments. So I don't know if you heard, but the CIA, or not the CIA, but the American government released thousands of assassination records, JFK assassination records.
Wow.
But not all of them. No.
Does the magic bullet still stand up? I wonder.
It still stands. And the funny thing is this, I mean, because they haven't released everything, and in fact, successive presidents have chosen not to. So Donald Trump chose not to when he was in power. And Mr. Joe Biden has also chosen not to release all the files. So
that's because the people are still alive, I reckon.
I ask you, my friend, that I think that's a given. No, but what could it be possibly that that they don't want us to know? I mean, which component parts of our speculations are correct? My suspicion is very many, a great deal of them, in fact.
Pepsi,
but it'd be nice to see that Pepsi was like partial credit for you.
Yeah.
Well,
so
you must be the head of the class.
I think it's just simply because the people are still alive, and they'll wait. Yeah. They'll wait until there's no more persons who can be found guilty of anything if the papers are released.
Yeah, I know, right? No, they're all dead. Are you sure? Just double check, Bob. Just make sure they're all dead.
No, we still have one left. Okay, can't do it.
Oopsie. But yeah, look, it's interesting. What's also interesting
is... it's you.
What? Oh, no. Oh, you know what that means, right?
It's your chief of staff. No. I don't know. Whoever, right?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
No, but it's also interesting that both Donald Trump and Joe Biden a little earlier in the year have released NFTs, non-fungible.
Oh, I saw that.
Tokens.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's a digital item that cannot be altered. It's secured by blockchain. Mm-hmm. You don't have to know the details. Point is, for all intents and purposes, it is a unique item. Right? Every NFT that you purchase is a unique item. If you want it or not, it's up to you. The prices you pay for them is insane, as far as I'm concerned. To you. Yeah, but so they've released I guess they're called playing cards. You know, those cards you exchange or you play off like a Transformer. Not Transformer. That was Pokemon. Was Pokemon cards? I want to say Pokemon. I don't know. I don't really know much about these things. Having said that, though, they both decided to keep their faces and heads for the most part, and put them on top of superhero bodies, which is what you do. And I'm sorry, but I just can't take it seriously. Why on God's great earth would you do this? Why even open yourself up to this kind of ridicule? But no, there we are. It's a thing. And of course, Mr. Trump has decided to run for president again, or unless he has made this intention clear. He's also called for the abolition of the Constitution, which is interesting. And Mr. Joe Biden is doing his best to keep his son's dirty laundry out of the press. What a wonderful world we live in, where such wonderful choices exist for the president of the most powerful nation.
What they are? Wonderful choices?
They're the best choices. It's a wonderful life.
Sure they are, Dave.
It's the wonder. What? You don't love the leader? I love the leader.
I love the leader more.
Everybody.
I don't know, Mekki, who it is, like who you are. When I say that I love the leader first,
I love him more.
Yeah,
and more frequently.
Jeez.
But I hear that you do things I just wouldn't do. So
yeah, well, I've got no limits.
What? Who said that? Oh no, that's just
I've got to make fun of it because I just don't know anymore.
Going to be hit by.
I honestly,
yeah.
I don't know.
What do you think of Mr.
How bad it can get?
Go on.
I just don't know how bad it can get anymore, Mekki. What?
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy.
Think of Idiocracy and
yeah.
And well, yeah, I think and then anti-Star Trek. It's like a bizarro Star Trek world. You know, like you've got Superman and then you got bizarro Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is reversed. So think of Star Trek reversed and Idiocracy. They had children, and that's our future. There you go. That's what we're looking for, my friend. That's what's going to happen. What?
I'm trying to find something here, and I hopefully have some of that video. There's something bizarre, Mekki, that I did a side-by-side video, and I should release this, but I feel like I'm already on a list, and who needs to be on even more lists, right? And that was
I want all the lists.
All list. No. Because I was looking at the midterms videos of Joe Biden, and they don't match his current age, oddly. They look like they were done from years ago. Don't ask me how. It looks like deep fake or something, right? And the current Gaffs video where he's gets lost on stage yet again, and then a small girl who looks like 8 to 10 years old takes him off stage, right? Drags him off stage by his hand.
Mr. President! Follow the smell!
Oh yeah, she probably had strawberry hair, smell, and that was enough.
I'm sorry, that's wrong.
I shouldn't say that, but you know what? It certainly piqued his interest, and he was able to be escorted correctly to the right area.
Oh my God!
And she was instructed off stage to go and help him. Right? So on that video, he looked honestly like he was well into his mid-90s. in this video.
Wow.
And the videos, I don't want to show you, but do your own research and you tell us. You tell us what you find, because he was totally coherent in the midterms, and that's really weird. It's like a script engine fed the dialogue, yeah, and it's like the deep fake was used, to generate the imagery, and we could do it today. We could deep fake the leaders, and they could be perpetual leaders for eternity. We could outlive them in their, as the movie Sleeper represented, where they'd already lost the leader in an explosion. All that was left was his nose, and yet the advertising continued, and he even did the station close video where he was in a wheelchair and waved to the camera in silhouette. So that's in the movie Sleeper. It's actually quite funny. But I never thought that it would be a thing. Right now, even makeup couldn't make him 20 years younger like we saw him. So I'm only putting it out there to question it, because it just something was wrong when I was looking at it. But, midterms came and went. Articles pro and against both parties came and went, and it didn't matter, and no one cares. And this is where we are now. We're back into the land of, oh my goodness, right? And then what I wanted to do, Becky, I wanted to say, if you use a dating app, don't be enticed to go on a holiday to South America with the person who's met you online, because
why ever should I not, Dave?
Well, you know what? There was a story that came out this week, and actually a couple of weeks back, but it's been refreshed because of new information, and it was a grim twist, not tryst. That's a different thing. There's 3 people in a tryst. This was 2 people. So grim twist in case of woman harvested for organs by online lover. That's the headline. And this comes from news.com.au, which is verified. Well, hopefully. I'm going to say all the stories are verified. And the story says, disturbing new details have emerged about the man alleged, of luring an online lover to be with him in Peru before he harvested her organs. Wow.
You know what's really odd about that?
What? There's nothing odd about the
Monty Python. There's nothing odd about this one. No, the Monty Python crew in The Meaning of Life actually foreshadowed that, because the live it was, I think it was The Meaning of Life Part 6, live organ harvesting. That's what they called it.
Live. That's right.
They had two butcher-like men knock at the door, and this guy says, "Oh, are you Bob? Blah blah blah." "Yes, I am." "Is this your signature?" "Yes, it is." "Okay, we're here for your liver."
But I'm not dead yet.
Well, you will be soon. So off they go to get his liver, and his wife comes. "Oh, did he sign it?" "Oh, Morris." His name was Morris. "Did Morris sign it again?" "Oh, yeah. And he goes, "Oh, you're an attractive woman. Would you mind going out sometime?" "Oh, no, I couldn't. Oh, I'm too old." "Oh, well, can we have your liver then?" "Oh, no, I'd be scared." And he proceeds to sing the song, The Meaning of Life, and how unimportant we all are, etc., etc. And after the end of the song, he goes to her, "Oh, can I have your liver then?" And she goes, "Oh, all right." Right. It's sort of foreshadowing the grim reality of what happened to this poor lady. It seems, however, a little elaborate. Let me outline what I mean by that. So you meet someone online and you become lovers, I guess. That's the gist of the story. And then you lure this person from obviously somewhere else to Peru, and then you proceed to harvest organs. To me, that seems like a lot of effort. I mean, if you're truly that totally deranged, where you August, you just I guess be a lot easier to just go after some homeless people. I mean, I don't think they're too picky in the the black market of organ harvesting as to where you get them from. So it just seems.
Who knows how much
elaborate? That's all.
It's how much research they do in DNA discovery. I don't know.
That's right, but it's a lot. I mean, very strange though that this should happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's funny.
So, yeah, so he did take her life to be able to. It wasn't a live harvesting, from what has been alleged. Hey, look at me doing illegal stuff. Sorry, legal stuff. Not illegal. Legal. So yeah, the woman lost contact with her family, and that was pretty much where that story led to them inquiring what had happened. Just nuts. Mackie, offline, we talk about, Google letting 30,000 go, blah, blah, Amazon, blah, 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 all this. Well, Goldman Sachs has now come into the play and said that they're going to let go of 4,000 persons in their cost-cutting considerations. Yeah, so I've got the story up. So there's a continuation of these downsizing events by the huge employers. I mean, and I comb the net for these little tiny stories, which, they don't even have 20 words to them. And you follow it up and you go, okay, well, all of these add up to something big. And you don't see the big message coming from the big media. You just don't. I mean, here we're talking about introducing a price cap, but there's an expression called "arse about," which means, putting the cart in front of the helping animal. Let's put it that way. I'm going to describe it like that, Mickey, whether it's accurate or not, I don't really care. And it makes for this price capping on energy. In England, they've said the total amount of bill that you can send to a consumer of electricity is capped at X, whatever that number is. So it means as long as the person doesn't hit that value of X, that person is required to pay the full bill. But once it reaches the cap, that's the total limit that the person's required to pay for whatever any additional use that they have. And I thought that's really weird. It also limits the amount, inadvertently, it limits the amount per kilojoule that the power companies can charge, because if they put it up too high, everyone will be at the cap, which means that they will forever try to hold it underneath that cap, so they return a good income. Otherwise, you put it too high and everyone peaks out and you're not reaching your income vector potential. If that makes sense. I know Mackie understands what I'm talking about. So by introducing a cap here, I don't think they've done it in the same way. I think they've just said this is the maximum amount you can charge per kilojoule, which is the opposite. Whereas the pricing of those per kilojoule units were left up to the power companies in England. Rather here, they've I think addressed it that way. I think that's bizarre. I really do. And I see if you cap the per kilojoule, so you don't cap the per kilojoule, but rather just put an arbitrary price in there, then they're going to go just above the mean and work that price out and say, well, that means we've got the maximum amount of income coming in. I just don't know, Mickey. What's your take?
Look, I think we've been rorted for a long time. Let me just give you my view on natural resources in Australia. natural resources are being exploited by very large companies. It's gas, coal, everything. It doesn't really matter what, right? And for the longest time, they've been allowed to make massive profits. In fact, they're allowed to export gas, oil, coal, etc. when it was needed at home. In fact, to the detriment of us, where the overseas market pays less than we pay at home. Less than we pay at home. And we have Ms. Gillard to thank for at least some of these deals. And then you have the miners and such.
That's because
they're making enormous profits.
That's because those sales were decided at a certain value for a very long time, and now the market has gone above that. Yeah, absolutely. And look, the thing is this, right? I mean, was it necessary for the government to step in my opinion? Yes, they should have done so a long time ago, okay? And not only that, we need to keep those profits in Australia. I know that sounds terribly, I don't know, iconoclastic or even, So no, it's not. It's not. I'm not saying we have to make it. We have to, give the government all the profit
money.
For the people.
We have to keep it in Australia. Yeah. Well, tax them. Taxation is not socialism. Just trust me on that. So you tax them properly, right?
I can hear Gina and what's his name, Coffin themselves having out of body experiences right now, right? Nearly dying. Look,
I'm not one to disparage people's bodies or their their body image or whatever, but good lord, Gina Reinhardt and Clive Palmer, you put them together and the lift is full. This can carry 22 people, not anymore. Stay outside, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
This lift. And look, I've said it before, I'll say it again, we can no longer afford billionaires, and they're probably the two of the worst examples you can imagine, being the best example for my purposes, because they're the worst human beings you can imagine. No, and for the longest time, we have been completely robbed of our natural riches, and we still are in many ways. And these companies, they make massive profits, whereas other countries in Scandinavia, for example, like Norway, Denmark, etc., a lot of the wealth generated by natural resources goes to the people. Free education, free healthcare, free transportation.
Yeah, that's
public
true.
Transport, I mean.
Yeah.
What?
It is possible.
I mean, yeah, of course it's complete. No, we believe that individuals should be rewarded by bleeding entire nations dry. So that's my take on it, Dave. Is it sensible? Yes, but it's well overdue, and it's not going far enough as far as I'm concerned.
Look, the way that Nike did business back in the 80s and 90s was they found a company overseas who would produce their shoes. It's an old story. It's publicly known, and it's publicly said by folk all the time. And that is that Nike would go in, find a company, and they say, "Look, we want 10 billion shoes a year." I'm just making the numbers up. 80% of the shoes that you make for us, they'll be free, and you can keep 20%, and you can sell them for whatever you want. You can sell them at the market price, and you'll make all of your money back on the production of the 80%. And they didn't see this at first. They finally got onto it, and voila, it's a tremendous thing. So Nike get their shoes totally free, and they sell them for amazing profit because it's free.
That's incredible. If you just can you repeat that? Just say that again.
Yeah, it was an 80-20 rule. So Nike say to a company, we're going to make an agreement with you where you make 100% of the shoes, but you get to sell 20% off the line at whatever price you want, and you give us 80% of those shoes for free. And they've said yes. And that's what their production model is. It's off chart crazy. But guess what? Everyone said yes. And they make more money now than they made when they were charging them per shoe.
how insane is that?
Yeah.
I mean, what?
So in line with that, the people who are mining our resources here, this nation that they get them from should be given for free at least 20% of what is either, dug out of the ground or sucked out of the ground. So in gas or pumped, right? And oil and coal, we should get that for free and they can keep the rest, right? Don't care. And if we did that, we'd have enough to survive as a nation forever, because they're basically digging up our country and giving it to everyone else, or selling it to everyone else. And look, that's free profit. I know there's overheads and I know it costs money, blah, 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 don't care. But for the rest of us, because there's two states in this country, Meki, that are fantastically endowed as far as the taxes they put on the companies, the mining companies, whether it's oil, exploration, gas, or coal. And Queensland and Western Australia, for those people who don't know where they are, they do make quite a lot of money with state-based tax systems. And all of the fly in, fly out people and all the costs that go around that, they ever decreasing rings around those businesses. And it is still doable. It's a viable thing. It's just how many. Let's use I don't know, biological terms. So how many testicles do you have, and how big are they? And can you have those conversations with them?
All of them, enormous.
All of them is what I think we should be doing. So, look, it's a different model than we're used to. It's not like we've decided we want to own or buy back all these mines and charge them to use them. There's all different kinds of cost models, but the best one is where we just get stuff for free and they're going to dig it out of ground to make profit. Done. Besides that, Meki, with all of our energy crises that you're getting wherever you are in the world, it doesn't matter anymore, right? And everyone just blames Putin. But there was a fellow, I think I mentioned this already, but there was a fellow on TV from overseas, came to chat with our government, and it was about putting nuclear power in. They said, you just don't have the people. Like if you had everyone in one city, yeah, sure, put nuclear in, but no one wants to invest in putting nuclear in to this country because our people are so spread apart. They're so spread across the country that it wouldn't be viable. Even if it was on the grid. Right? So I don't know what we've done to ourselves, but I think we've cut our foot, broken the leg, shot the upper thigh, and we're in the middle of cutting our leg off as a result, because power production was split from the distribution, which was split from retail, and the poor suckers in the middle, where this was usually cross-subsidized, was the poles and wires. Money was loaned to buy that, and now they have it, realizing that even the interest payments can't be made. And as everyone puts solar on their roofs and that power isn't going across the grid, they're in an ever declining business model. And other companies are really realizing you can do micro. So say like a cul-de-sac where you live at the end of a street, you can all have one battery, a big one, and all the solar will feed that and feed the rest of the people in the cul-de-sac, and you'll do power sharing. And that way, that power doesn't go across the grid. And they're thinking about this. I know I did some work for one of the energy companies who were seriously looking at this. They did a trial and it worked just fine. So the poor people that got ripped off, it's like the coal production. Everyone needs coal until you've got more than plentiful amounts of all the other renewables. But we've just decided, like other countries, just to turn it off. No more. We don't need any more of those. Don't build any more. Yeah, that's the way. No more power for you. Oh, and because it's getting limited, and apparently, Mickey, coal is rare now or something because the price of coal is going up, and therefore the price per kilojoule used is going up, and they're advertising in advance that we're going to be paying between 30 and 50% more next year for some reason. I mean, that's Nostradamus right there. I want them to tell me what the lotto numbers are next week if they're able to predict that kind of rise. How are they predicting that?
Hey, Nigel, how much money do you need for your new boat? Oh, I need lots of money for my new boat.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just tell him how much it is.
It's like when you call your builder and he says, "Yeah, I can do it," and suddenly he's on a world trip because you had to pay a deposit. He takes his family on a world trip, and he hasn't even bought the resources yet, right? Oh boy, who hasn't been there?
When are you coming back? Coming back?
What?
What?
So
no, but look,
I think power, and I think the whole energy conversation, Mickey. I think it's lost now. I don't know who's going to win and what's going to happen next because I remember every single week something's even crazier than last week. This is one of those.
I can tell you who's going to lose.
Yeah.
We're
going to lose.
We're going to lose because the thing is, the only thing. Look, it's a really simple equation, everybody, right? If you have money, then chances are you're going to make a lot more money simply because you have money. And if you can sway people to your opinion, be it through lobbyists or donations or whatever it might be, okay, then that's the reality of it. Because you have to understand that the people that we elect, they have to get there somehow, right? And we don't put them there. You know, they are put there by donations and other people's money, etc., etc. So that's why the whole party system, in my opinion, no longer works. Because it's a lot harder to support and bribe independents. It's just more expensive than parties. It's a lot easier to bribe a two-party system into submission, which is what's happening at the moment. So we're not going to see terribly many changes. I do hope we do see some, because the truth is, I don't think I never thought I would see a time when, in Australia at least, people wouldn't be able to use electricity anymore, or gas for that matter.
Uh-huh.
Not because it isn't there, because they can't afford it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we have that stuff in the ground. You know, it's in the ground.
And we don't
one of
ship
the
it from largest anywhere. World's, deposits of coal, for instance. We do.
Yeah.
And the Financial Review, Mickey, the AFR, has published just hours ago a Rolling Blackouts, the Hollow Victory of Climate Piety over Energy Reality. This is what they're telling us next year is going to happen. We're going to get rolling blackouts. Why?
Well, as long as they're telling us, right, Dave?
Yeah, that's right. They told us in advance. Sure. Okay.
What?
Great. Thank you. Thanks for telling us.
Lucky.
So when it happens, I can just say, right. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you. And I love you, leader.
I'm sorry.
I love the leader.
I love you so much. So much.
Thank you for making the right decisions.
So much. Oh, it's priceless.
It hurts. It hurts my brain, Mickey. That's what it does.
Yeah. The thing is this, everybody should understand where they stand. Everybody should understand that the lines have been drawn in the sand. There.
Yeah.
Here it is. I mean, it's the same thing. Sorry, not the same thing. It's a similar argument. You know, they were talking about the minimum wage, increasing it, etc., etc.
Mm.
And, all these... all the employers were going, oh, no, it's terrible. It's going to kill the economy. Inflation is going to go through the roof. Well, the answer is no, it won't. So there are two things that are wrong with the economy. One, you can't use interest rates in the single digits to entice people to save money. I mean, that's just stupid. Okay? That's the first thing. Second thing, below single-digit percentage rises, so 0.5, 0.7, whatever it is not going to lead to runaway inflation either, okay? An extra $5 a week, God forbid, it's not going to make you spend like crazy and buy a Ferrari. Okay, so trickle-down economics, point number 3, just doesn't work. Trickle-down economics says, well, we make sure the richer get rich, and then the wealth will trickle down. No, we see it doesn't work. It's not working.
It's been proven so many times to be a fail. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that's what you have there. So you've got a failure of policy across the board. You've got the people that have the money not wanting to part with it, which I guess we understand that. I don't want to pay people more. I mean, we had. Do you remember recently we had cases of wage theft?
Mm-hmm.
Horrendous. By 7-Eleven was one. I think
McDonald's big multinationals were doing it more than anyone else. Well.
Yeah. Yeah. Massive wage. I mean, we're not talking about a couple of bucks. Tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions potentially.
That's right.
That's a serious cash. Oh no, that's okay. Excuse me? Well, it's not okay. I mean, we're doing something about it, but I mean, come on. I mean, these are rich people. You don't understand. They have needs. They need to be members of a polo club, and their children need a couple of extra horses. I mean, you don't have those expenses, do you? No, I just want to heat my house. That's all I want to do. I just want to I want to eat some food today. Oh, look, if only you knew the woes of the rich people. If only you knew, Mackie, the woes. Oh yeah, sure. But honestly, this is. I'm not joking. This is what happens in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
People make these arguments. They say, "Oh no, you don't understand. These responsibilities, extra costs, extra expenditure, blah 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 blah." And I'm thinking, okay, so if your extra expenditure is a case of Grange that you can't afford because you have to pay your workers more, my heart does not go out to you. It just doesn't. Okay. And just for everybody who doesn't know, a bottle of Grange costs you between $1,000 and $2,000, right? It's wine. Anyway, so the point is that we need to level set again what is acceptable in society. What you should be allowed to do and what you shouldn't be allowed to do. And when people go hungry, when people can't afford to heat, or to run appliances, or whatever it might be, electricity, gas, I don't care. In citizens, people with jobs, not bums. So if these people can't afford, then there's something wrong that needs to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
There's something wrong that needs to be fixed. The rich have gotten richer over the last 4 or 5 years. The pandemic, like any good crisis, has led to the richer. Led the richer to become even richer. I mean, it is horrendous.
The
really,
rich
if you think
getting
about it.
richer,
I mean, the
poor
wealth
get the picture.
That's pretty much.
That's a lyric.
But it's the truth.
Midnight
yeah,
Oil.
But yeah, exactly, and it's completely true. Oh, he sold out, man. He sold out.
He realized that you couldn't change anything.
Yeah, I might as well get rich. Yay. You see, but that's what happens, right? Because nobody has the I don't know if it's the fortitude. I mean, some people have the fortitude. I guess if you don't have the fortitude, then you don't do it. But if you have, you might not have the means.
Mm-hmm.
There's just nobody there that has, let's call it the means, to make true change, to bring reform, because we need it. I mean, if nothing else, I don't know if you saw Scott Morrison this week testifying to the robo-debt stuff, but I did. Good God. I thought to myself, I mean, he had to be pulled up on to answer the question. He didn't answer the question. He was just rambling on, telling everybody how wonderful he was and how he did the right thing, and it wasn't his fault. Nobody asked that question, right? And then I realized, right, it's people like that. It's people like that make it impossible for the system to be reformed. Because he's got no interest in reforming it. Why would he?
Yeah.
It's doing just fine. Why do you have to hate on the system, Mackie? Why are you hating on the system? Don't hate. It's working fine. Look, we're doing okay, right? And this is really the issue. I mean, everything we've discussed in this first hour is pointing toward a class war.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I never thought I would see this. In 20s, back in the 16th century, 17th, the peasant revolts and all that, sure, okay. But now, in this day and age, we see a class war. I mean, it's happening. I mean, okay. You look around yourself. You look at this political instability. It's probably the best illustration of what could happen globally is in I guess what is now Israel or Palestine formerly, and people that now generationally have grown up in refugee camps. So why am I talking about this? So for 4 or 5 generations now, is Palestinians that were displaced or evicted or whatever, fled the war, etc., both in Jordan and on the West Bank and other refugee camps, but mostly in Jordan, they have been there for generations, right? They have no hope. They have no future. There's no silver lining, right? There's nothing really they can do to improve their lot. They're still living in refugee camps. And this is what's going to happen to a lot of the people out in the world. Okay? First, they make sure that you can't have your own home. You can't afford it, you can't pay for it, you can't have it. Okay, so that's number one. So you're maybe a renter. Okay, then they make sure you can't rent anymore. All of a sudden you're in the street, right? Or maybe your country, maybe your country doesn't play ball. If your country doesn't play ball, doesn't buy into the global banking cabal, then maybe your country is going to be invaded, and your people will be displaced that way, right? I mean, Haiti, and I keep saying, I know I keep harping on about it, but Haiti is still being punished by the world, by the parasites in power, for having mounted the only successful slave revolt in the history of the world. They're still being punished for it today. You look at all the excrement that's raining down on Haiti. It has been for the last 100 years. And you ask yourself, how is that? I mean, seriously, there's some bad mojo here. It's because they were successful in ousting their masters. Okay, and that's one thing the cabal hates. So they're still being punished for it. Liberia is similar. Anyway, so let's say country doesn't play ball, it gets invaded, and then you're all refugee camps all over. It's also playing into their hand that there's a climate crisis, which means people will be displaced by weather, by lack of water, by lack of food. It's all coming to a head. Okay, it's all coming to a head. And if you think none of this is related, you really haven't been paying attention. I urge you to become a student of history and understand how these things hang together. And I know I've got the hardest time. And look, that's why I don't really do it out one-on-one anymore for dinner parties. I don't really talk to people anymore.
No.
About these things.
Likewise.
No point. Because I can't explain it properly to them. It would take too long. And there's too many things they don't know. Whereas this listenership here for Revolution Radio, you guys out there in the world, you're already awake.
That's right.
Decidedly, you're awake. You see the writing on the wall. That's why you're probably listening to the station, and you want to hear some alternative approaches, and you know what's going on. You have probably some of you might have a better handle than Dave or I on the situation because you might be living it. So yeah, it's just impossible because the rift between the people that understand and know and try to change, and the people that don't and have bought into the narrative has just become too great. You can no longer bridge that gap, and you're all crazy conspiracy theorists if you do talk about it, right, Dave? We've seen this now. We've seen this now. I mean, again, there was a shooting we discussed in Queensland.
Right.
Oh, the conspiracy theorists. They're now violent. What?
Yeah, so they bundled everything, all of the hatred together into one ball. So they gathered up QAnon, conspiracy theorists, anti-government, misinformation, disinformation, like vocal in social media. They did all this stuff, right? And it is Queensland, granted. But did you know that they don't have an upper house in their parliament? You probably did. About all the people in the world, you would know. Well, they don't, right?
No.
And it means that you can just read something out in the lower house, for instance, in Australia, in our Westminster system, and it can become law straight away in one vote, one voting session, done. There's no upper house to mediate what decisions get up to them, because there just isn't any. And that's how they put together those anti-bikie laws, etc., right, which we've mentioned in the past. So it's likely that there'll be the establishment of a number of, like maybe one large agency in Queensland, which would be like the Ministry of Truth equivalent. So what is truth? And no, so you laugh, right? 1984, right? So
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
And because they bundled it all together, they did it in the US. They made one. So
that's you're right. Absolutely.
So the COVID laws changed the planet with how the state, let's call it the state, but it's a federal government, can change, control, and then police whimsical ideas that have they're all overreach, but they don't have any themselves. They don't have any scrutiny. And, it was illegal to say stuff against the narrative, and people have criminal charges now because inciting violence, when all they did was wanted to have a local protest where people couldn't travel in a local little tiny country town to the big city because there was COVID restrictions on traveling. So, and they got done for incitement. That's a big charge. You can't travel to other foreign countries if you've got that badge on your jacket, right?
Correct.
So, I think right now we're on the cusp of a brand new autocracy with these kinds of changes, because they still haven't announced that the emergency laws have been squashed, right? They have turned off, if you will. They still haven't announced that, and I'm kind of, wow, why not? Aren't we out of the pandemic? China's just backed down very fast from a zero COVID policy because the peasants were revolting. And
that's right.
I know, I like that joke.
Almost overnight.
Yeah, that's right. And now they're accelerating that to just whatever, right? Sure, let's leave it up to you. I think they took the responsibility of controls further than anybody, even further than the Victorian government did. And if you're a Victorian person, you'll know what I mean. But this looks like it's a thing for the future. Hey, we did it. Guess what? Look what we were able to achieve. These rules. Oh, wow. Next time, I think we can adjust them like this, this, and this. And that should get around it. Right? All of the things that were negative about how they controlled us. But I think they're going to take all those successes and wear them as, like I said before, badges. And they're going to draft up legislation that allows them to do that again, should they need it. Maybe, even if they don't need it. So they were using social media to control us. And the Twitters, for instance, Twitter was one of the biggest. You could get deplatformed forever. And now people are being let on again because Elon Musk has decided that those rules were draconian. And other Twitter-like platforms are now standing up where no doubt these are going to be 3-letter agency supported applications and everything will be transparent. Because they want the controls. They want not just the controls over what we say, but they want the controls over our programming, because what you can and can't see is determined in advance of you getting it in your feed. Whether the AI wants you to see it. If you haven't used Chat GPT, I swear you've got to have a go. It's available as an app on a phone or online. A 3D model of something was made by the AI, and a guy wrote some code with it in just seconds. Another person did a 300-page essay or something, right? And a friend of mine did a bunch of slides, had the AI create slides, and they were perfect in every way on some crazy topics. I've had a play with it. I think it's much better than Google, and at some point that will be the new thing. We'll be looking at something very similar that will, like on Star Trek, what was the blah, blah, blah of the thingo and blah, and it gives you an answer and you go, oh, but that would include these two things. Can you eliminate such and such? And it just does it. It's cumulative, a stacked cumulative command. And that's what it can do really well. But it can also, draw things, and it can create output, which is just, it's off the charts. And this is just a simple, it was actually OpenAI. It's how it was developed. But it's been given the internet to look through, and that's what its background is. So, oh man, I don't know. We're almost replaceable. All you need is an AI to be able to review the output, and you can have the two AIs talking to each other. Eventually there'll be only one. I think the winner would be switched off by the other AI. Ultimately, there'll be an AI war. Yeah, there'll be an AI war at some point. But I said to my father during the conversation, Becky, this last point, we've got less than a minute. I said to my father, from the moment we used a stick to get the honey out of the beehive, we were always going to make an AI that destroyed us. Because
what did he say?
He goes, "What's an AI?" No, he knew it. So, and I think he had to ponder that one for quite a while, because his processing of everything that meant. I think he got it.
There it is.
That is it. This is the end of the first hour of Dave and Mackie's Shiny Side Out. 11 years now, Mackie. And we'll be coming back on the other side of the music after the bumpers with our show topic of religiosity. Part 3, I believe. Anyway, take a short break. We'll see you after.